What's up, guys? Mike here with Cards Or Sports Cards. Should you invest in sports cards? Should you buy right now a PSA 10 auto of Caleb Williams for $500 in the hopes that its value will increase over the next year, 2, 5, 10 years, at which point you can resell it for profit? Should you flip sports cards, essentially buying large collections in bulk, hoping to target specific players and list them right now, not a year or two from now, for profit? And what's the difference between investing in sports cards and flipping sports cards anyway? Let's jump in this video. Before we do, if you want to unlock the secrets of selling and investing in low-end sports cards on eBay, this channel is your go-to source for expert tips, honest insights, and strategies to help boost your eBay sales. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button for me if you want to stay ahead in the card selling game, maximize your profits, and take your eBay card selling business to the next level. You can also check out my other channel at Puck Mike, where I open and talk about hockey cards. Before we talk about investing in sports cards specifically, let's talk about what it means just to invest in something in general terms. If you Google search the definition of investment, you'll get the action or process of investing money for profit or material results. So investing in anything is literally just putting your money in the hopes to get something, typically money, back out at some point. There's no time frame or rule that says you have to wait a certain amount of time before cashing it in for it to be a true investment. It's just money in, hoping to get money or something out of it. So technically, whether you're buying cards now and waiting to sell them years down the road, or if you're buying cards now and listing them now and trying to flip quickly for profit, you're technically investing in both cases. It's just that one is a long-term investment that typically, you hope, will bring larger gains as the value, again you hope, increases over time. So I think it's important to know whether you consider yourself a sports card investor or a sports card flipper, you're technically investing in either case because you're spending money hoping for gains. And sometimes the sports card investor label does get a bad rap, and that's because truly investing in sports cards can be very risky because it's so volatile. There's so many factors that can play a part in your asset going up or down, so you can lose a lot of money doing it. So I get why there's some negativity there, but in either case, you're still spending money, trying to get money out of it. It's just a short-term versus a long-term investment. But if you're new to sports cards altogether and just finance and investing in general, usually when you hear people talk about investing in the sports card hobby, they mean long-term investments. So I would say at least maybe 6 months to a year. And flipping cards means short-term investments. So maybe you'd buy a lot right now on eBay or buy a collection on Facebook Marketplace. You come home, you list those right away as soon as you can because you want to flip them right away for profit. The reason I want to quote our conversation about sports card investors versus flippers in this mindset that you're an investor in either case is because I think it will help you on your journey think about your goals as a sports card seller. I think sometimes flippers have a tendency to think they're not putting as much money in. So I think flippers, whether you're buying lots to flip them now or buying collections or cards as long-term investments to try to resell later for larger gains, you're still investing your money. Your strategy, though, will be different. So think of the long-term versus short-term as strategies versus labels as you get into the business more and learn more about your goals and where you want to go. So let's dive into each category more in depth. We will start with long-term sports card investing. Again, I'm thinking long-term as in you buy a card and you're not going to try to resell it for at least 6 months. Now, you will see a mix of opinions on YouTube about whether to invest in sports cards for the long term or whether to buy sports card collections and flip them as quick as you can for profit. And typically you see a lot of sellers doing that for more low, maybe even some mid cards. Most channels would probably steer you away from investing and might try to steer you toward flipping them for short-term gains instead. Again, long-term sports card investing is definitely more risky than trying to flip cards, especially low-end cards, because you're not usually spending more money up front, and so you have a higher risk of not getting that money back. So essentially you have to spend more money, wait longer to get it back, but you might never get it back. This is definitely one I have mixed opinions on. I mean, if you're comparing sports card investing to like, should you invest more money into your 401k if you have one? 95% or more will probably tell you to invest in those things versus investing in sports cards. Of course, you have to figure out what's best for yourself based on your own goals. But what's intriguing and has really caught my eye lately is that you can make money investing in sports cards. I mean, long-term investments. I mean, looking at certain players, looking at certain cards, buying $200 or $300 cards, waiting a year, 2, 3, 5 years until they appreciate, whether it's just the market naturally going up or player performance, and then you can sell those for a larger profit. There's people doing that all the time. Like, the numbers literally just say that that's possible. You take this Vance Carter 1999 UD Retro autograph, graded as a PSA 10. September 16th, 2024, it sold for $1,200 on eBay. About 1 year earlier, same card sold for $381. So if I bought this card a year earlier, I could have potentially made $819 on one card. This is just one example, of course, but to the question of can you make money investing in sports cards, the answer is yes. You can buy cards today, you can resell them down the road 1, 2, 5 years and make a profit. And you would be a successful sports card investor if you did that. But here's where the risk comes in with this method more so than just flipping cards for short-term gains. Predicting Knowing not only how much a card is going to increase by in the future, but also whose cards are going to increase in general is insanely unpredictable. I mean, there's like literally no rhyme or reason to it. I watch a lot of these other channels that have their own platforms that show, hey, there was this nobody player. I bought the card for $8 or $10 or $20 and then sold it for $100 a year later. Or like, hey, I bought a ton of this player's card who was going to be the #1 draft pick, or he was the #1 draft pick, and then he got hurt, and then his cards tanked, and I never made my money back. I lost so much money. There's other cases where it's like you just don't know. Why is this player's cards not selling? They were a #1 draft pick. The team has done well. Why is the value of their cards down? There's so many factors that play into it. And that's what makes long-term investing in sports cards a million times more risky than, say, investing in the not only flipping some of the low-end cards for short-term gains, but also investing money in, say, the stock market, because 9 out of 10 times the stock market always recovers. And over time, you will see more gains than losses. Not sure a company's stock can plummet if they're just hemorrhaging money and the earnings are dropping and dropping, but most people, if they're smart investors, aren't just investing in one company. And most people who do invest in stocks are doing it through a 401k if they have one. So that's why investing money this way is much less risky and protected by one company tanking, because in those cases, your money is going into a mutual fund that invests in a range of diverse companies. So if one of those companies falls, usually the fund recovers and does okay because there's a bunch of other companies in that specific fund to help it. Whereas if you buy a sports card or even 10 sports cards, any or all of those cards could tank at any time and not recover. Ever. The #1 draft pick whose cards you just bought 10 of for $500 each. They could be a bust. They could have a career-ending injury. Guess what? You're never getting your money back on those cards if that happens. Companies could overproduce other numbered cards, autos, memorabilias of that player, making your cards and autos less rare, putting you getting your money back at a higher risk. You could grade those cards and get a bad grade, limiting your returns. The market could be flooded with supply and not enough demand. There are a million things that could cause you to lose this money even before you have the chance to move from the short-term investing phase to the long-term investing phase with that asset. Overall, I would say long-term investing in sports cards can be done. You can make money at it. I mean, the data literally says that you can. It's just, how do you know who to buy, when to sell, what makes that buyer buy yours over a competitor's, because you're not always going to have a one of one or a pop one. So the inability to predict the unpredictable is what makes sports card investing in this way highly risky. Okay, but what about flipping sports cards? What about those short-term investments? Buying collections, buying card lots, usually low-end lots, maybe even some mid-end cards, $15, $20, and listing those on eBay pretty much right now, not really paying attention to player performance or team performance. You're just kind of buying and listing what you think will sell in the moment and trying to get that money back a little bit quicker. Up to this point as a seller, this is pretty much the method that I have been using when it comes to sports cards. I started out with opening boxes from my hockey card channel, Puck Mike, and I was listing those, seeing what sold, seeing what didn't, until recently I kind of shifted and started selling other sports and focusing on those and not just hockey. And doing the same thing, working on my strategy, focusing on younger players, draft picks, popular products, but again, still focusing on really just low, mid-end cards at the most, $15, $20. But where I'm kind of at right now, and I'm going to talk about this in some upcoming videos as well, as I really show how I'm deciding as I go through this process, what cards to invest in or which cards not to invest in. But where I'm at right now is trying to really be more strategic about what cards I buy. Looking at Anthony Edwards cards, some Caitlin Clark, Paul Skeens, buying some of their cards, maybe $200, $300 card, $100 card, numbered cards, graded cards, PSA 10s, autographs, buying some of those now and trying to be strategic about it and focusing on cards that I think will truly increase in value at least a year from now, I would say. I've done the flipping cards, the short-term cards. I have a lot of those. That's still what I'm doing mostly. And honestly, I think you can do both. Again, that's portfolio diversification. You have different funds, you have different assets that you're trying to get your money back on. That's where that short-term versus long-term investments comes in play. But I'm trying to really focus on trying to invest in certain cards, figure out why some cards have increased in value over time. Why did this card sell for $300 a year ago and then now it sold for $1,200? What changed? Did any events change? And how can I apply, if that was the case, how can I apply that to buying other cards? Okay, this player had a breakout year, so who do I think is going to have a breakout year this year? Or were they just on a really good team? How did all that hype build where the market said, hey, we are going to pay more money now, 3 times, 4 times as much money for this player in this card than we were a year ago? How do you get to that point for any player? That's where I'm at right now as a seller, trying to research that and apply that as I make decisions on what cards to invest in. And honestly, it's a different type of work. The flipping cards for short-term investments is just a lot more work for not a lot of gains. You're listing all day, 5, 10, 20, 100 cards a day. You're trying to get more out just to what? Sell maybe how many a day? 5, 10, 20 cards a day at what? $2, $3, $5 at the most, maybe $10 at the most for certain cards. Take out all the eBay fees and expenses. You're not making a ton for all of that work. So it's a different kind of work that I'm actually enjoying a little bit more. So do I consider myself a long-term investor or a short-term investor? I hope I haven't confused you with the terminology. Basically, think of yourself as an investor, whether you're trying to buy lots and sell them right now, even if it's low-end cards, you're just getting into the game. Think of yourself as an investor. It doesn't mean you have to spend $500 cards. You're spending money and hoping to get more money out of that asset that you're selling. That's an investment. Whether you get that money out tomorrow or you get it out 3 years from now, that's still an investment of your funds. So think of yourself that way, regardless of how you're trying to go about being a sports card seller. And don't get caught up in the terminology as much. Just think of yourself as an investor and then focus on what strategy works for you. If you're not at a point where you want to spend a little bit more money, then focus on the low end stuff and try to sell those pretty quick. You can even get some mid-end stuff and you don't have to try to flip that right away. You can say, you know what, this was a $20 card, but this guy's only 22 years old. He really hasn't broken out yet. I think I can make some money here. I'm going to hold on to this one and I'm going to track this one and treat it like a little bit more of an investment. That's totally fine if you want to do that to get your feet wet. You don't have to start with $3, $4, $500 cards. Think of yourself this way. Do what works for you right now. I'm excited to share in my upcoming videos some of the strategies I'm trying to apply and how I'm kind of analyzing who I should or shouldn't buy, what cards I should or shouldn't buy, as I'm thinking of this as more of an investment versus just, hey, let me flip these for a little bit of profit here and there. But again, always consider the risk no matter what you're doing. You always want to do what's best for you. Make sure you're staying within your means and do what's best for you when it comes to your financials. So thank y'all so much for watching. I'm excited to share some of my journey coming up with you. As always, if you want to unlock the secrets of selling and investing in low-end sports cards on eBay, this channel is your go-to source for expert tips, honest insights, and strategies to help boost your eBay sales. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me if you want to stay ahead of the card selling game, maximize your profits, and take your eBay card selling business to the next level. You can also check out my other channel at Puck Mike, where I open and talk about hockey cards. Thank y'all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.